Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us. We got a good group today. Looks to be about 15, maybe 20 people, so that's great. I do have a question here. Can the slide be sent out after the webinar for future reference? How do you get to the slides? One way to get to the slides is you can get to them now via the handout section. You should be able to see that handouts. If you open that up, you can download it there. So that's one way to get to the slides. Another way you can get to all of our slides is if you go to when you get the meeting invite through the email, there's a link to our calendar on that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the calendar here. So you get let's try that again. So all of you got an email like this letting you know of the webinar today, and you click on this link to register, and then the other one it is, we have our Fed Data Check event calendar. If you click on that, it'll show you the current webinar, and let's see, we should put in the future ones here too, and soon. Well, next Thursday's Thanksgiving, but the 30th, we have a topic lined up for that already, which is USA spending. Okay, so here you are. I clicked on that link. I went to our Fed Data Check webinar calendar in Gmail. If you click on that link, click on more details, you can get to the PowerPoint deck that way. So anytime you get that webinar link, you can go to the event calendar and get our past PowerPoint decks. A lot of times I don't upload the PowerPoint deck for the current webinar until the same day, because I haven't finished it yet. Okay. I hope that answered that question. Good one, though. All right, today we're going to talk about synchronizing 3 FPDS NG data fields that are associated with commercial information technology acquisitions. And since there are 3 fields that can designate a commercial IT buy, you have 3 chances to have a logical inconsistency. Okay, the agenda, quick introductions and Fed Data Check and Potomac Wave overviews. I'm going to time that. I'm going to keep that to certainly less than 2 minutes, probably hopefully a minute. Yeah, I'll stay on afterwards if you have some more questions in general about who we are and what we do. Here's the guts of it. Synchronizing 3 FPDS NG data fields associated with commercial IT. What are those 3 fields? And then we're going to look at commercial IT acquisitions and the Buy American Act, how you can get out of sync there between those 3 fields and your compliance with the Buy American Act as represented by what you inputted into FPDS NG. And commercial IT acquisitions and the Klinger-Cohen Act. And if anyone has experience with Klinger-Cohen Act, I hope you raise your hand and offer your insight. Okay. My name's Bob Hartford. I'm Vice President of Business Intelligence Products with Potomac Wave. You want to learn more about Fed Data Check, we do have a YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, type in Fed Data Check. We got about 10 to 15 videos out there covering various aspects of our products. Potomac Wave is located in Alexandria, mostly a women-owned small business. For a lot of NAICS codes we are, and for some we aren't. quite a few different vehicles, such as Oasis. And, here's one I recently redid. Incidentally, not incidentally, we're happy to report we have a new subscriber, Department of Transportation. They started it on a trial yesterday or the day before, this week. So we have 12 agencies now who subscribe to Fed Data Check. And I rank these in terms of what people are most interested in so far. Data quality, looking for inconsistencies with a FAR or logical inconsistencies in an FPDS NG record is number one. But we have about 6 agencies use us for the annual V&V that's submitted to OMB. Decreasing competitive one bids. That's been a hot topic, particularly today. Category management utilization, really only one agency uses us for that. 2, actually 2 do. And then monitoring high-risk vendors. That's where vendors are put on the debarred list and somebody accidentally makes an award or exercises an option with one of those debarred vendors. We monitor that and send out alerts when that happens. And also flag awards, active awards that are with debarred vendors. And that's an acceptable situation because you don't have to terminate an award with a debarred vendor, which, as you know, you can't create a new one or exercise an option with a debarred vendor unless you get, I think it's HCA approval. Okay, if anybody wants to talk to me about any of these other areas we deal with, I'll wait after the webinar to discuss that. Okay, here we go. Synchronizing 3 FPDS NG data fields associated with commercial IT. What are the 3 fields? And then, as I said, we'll look at this in relation to Buy American Act and Klinger-Cohen. All right, should I start a slideshow from the current slides, get a better view on this? Let's do it. And then I always get this. I don't know how to. No. Okay. I need to figure out how to show these slides better. Excuse me. I don't know. Show my other screen. All right, let's try that. How about this? And that did not work. All right, let's just go with this here. I'll figure that out for next time. What are the 3 FPDS NG data fields in question? One is field 8H, Information Technology Commercial Item Category. That's a mouthful. 8H, Information Technology Commercial Item Category. The code that designates the commercial availability of information technology product or service. That's the definition in the version 1.5 FPDS NG Data Dictionary. As you may know, if I go to FPDS NG, as you probably know, if I click on FPDS NG and don't log in, click on Worksite, scroll down to the left, there's the version 1.5 Data Dictionary. Now the key thing that's specified in that data dictionary, why don't we take a look at it? Here is that field, code that designates the commercial availability of an information technology product or service. Here's the key point on this. I don't think we have anybody from DOD. Do we have anybody from the Navy or anyone from DOD on the webinar? Okay, this field is only applicable if the contracting agency or the funding agency is DOD related. So if it's not one of those 2 cases, And for the vast majority of people who subscribe to Fed Data Check, that's going to be the case. Not always, but that just leave the field blank. And I'm going to say, I don't have a smoking gun on it, but if you look at the Defense DD Form 350 or DFARS, it's joined at the hip with compliance with the Klinger-Cohen Act. So if you look at the DD Form 350, here, Individual Contracting Action Report, that's a standard DoD form, and I come down to B15, Information Technology Services. These are the same codes that are available in the FPDS NG data dictionary, but actually the data dictionary also has Z. I noticed that's not on this form, but it does have these other ones. So if you look at A, commercially available, off the shelf, B, other commercial item of supply. If you look at the data dictionary, okay. There we go. Okay, we said A. See, B is other commercial item. A was commercially available. C, non-developmental item. This is the data dictionary. What was it in the at SF50? Other, I'm not, I'd have to see if those line up or not. I'm having a little trouble opening. Let's see if I can open it up in another screen. I'll open this up in Chrome. Okay, I'm going to, we'd have to go through and, actually, let's try that just to make sure that they are the same. Okay. Just give me 1 second, be right with you. Okay, those are the values I pasted out of the DoD form. Here we are in the data dictionary. So A was commercially available off the shelf, that matches. B was other commercial item of supply, that matches. C, non-developmental item, so they're all lining up. They may be slightly different in terms of verbiage. E is commercial service, so they tie. The only thing, I didn't see this one in the Department of Defense form. Okay, and I mentioned that that field 8H, information technology, the one we're talking about, information technology commercial item category. One is DoD related. We just saw that both in the definition in FPDS NG and in the Department of Defense form. And I also said it's related to Klinger-Cohen. And you can get a clue. One clue on that is look at what the next field is in this form, Klinger-Cohen Act Planning Compliance. And then if you look at the, we'll get into it later, but if you look at Wikipedia, Klinger-Cohen is all about compliance with whether you're developing your IT, kind of custom coding it, or whether you're getting it commercial off the shelf, and the compliance reviews associated with those two different types of categories of IT, as well as others. Okay, so with that field, 8H, one value, the first one is A, commercially available. So you could say if you're acquiring commercial IT, one way to designate that in FPDS NG is in field 8H information technology, commercial item category, put A, commercially available. You're saying you're acquiring commercially available IT. What's another way to designate it in FPDS NG? Another field is 9H, place of manufacture. Here's the definition in FPDS NG. Represents whether the end products procured by the contract are manufactured inside or outside the U.S. in accordance with the Buy American Act, CFAR 25.1, and any exceptions or reasons for waivers employed. So one of the exceptions to the Buy American Act, which you can specify in field 9H, is the code H, manufactured outside U.S., commercial information technology. So if you're buying software, and if anyone has bought commercial IT manufactured outside the U.S., you could raise your hand maybe and tell us about it. But if you need to buy commercial IT technology, you do not. That is an automatic exception to the Buy American Act, and you are therefore free to consider the vendor not a vendor in the United States or a vendor in certainly with one of our trade agreement partners would be treated the same. That's my understanding of the Buy American Act. I have looked into it pretty thoroughly in the last couple of months, but if anyone else has another comment, they can. So just to recap on that, everybody knows that Buy American Act, the goal is to maximize use of American vendors, U.S.-based vendors. There are 5 exceptions to that, which we'll get into. Again, one of them is commercial IT. Commercial IT, if that's what you're buying, Buy American Act is not something, I'm going to say, not something you have to comply with, but I bet you, well, you always, buy, it's, and I'll say that if it's with a trade partner, no, that's not, the Buy American Act would not be applicable to that acquisition. Oof, that's not explained very well. Maybe someone else can do it. If someone else wants to raise their hand and take a better whack at that than I did, feel free. Let's keep moving. So anyway, what's the point? We can designate commercial IT here. We can designate commercial IT in this field, and you can designate commercial IT with commercial item acquisition procedures. How can you do that? I'm not going to define that. Everybody knows what that is. You can put if you put a commercial item in the commercial item acquisitions field, and then you come down into the PSC code and you have 7021, for example, ADP Central Processing Unit, you are also signaling you bought commercial IT. So the question is, how do we keep all these 3 fields in sync? All right, let's take a look at commercial IT acquisitions and the Buy American Act. What are the exceptions to the Buy American Act? Resale. If you buy something and you're going to resell it in a commissary, for example, those acquisitions are not subject to the restrictions in the Buy American Act, the policies in the Buy American Act. Public interest determination, boy, these are rare. I'd have to look that one up. The HCA says for whatever reason the Buy American Act applies, but for these considerations, I'm going to say it doesn't. Commercial information technology. We also said you got a manufacturer of a piece of software. They're located in Great Britain. You got a manufacturer of software located in the United States. If it's commercial IT, the government gets it from whatever suits their needs and whatever is the best price. I have to hedge on that a little bit because I know that there are blanket restrictions to North Korea, obviously, Libya, so it's not as if you can't put down commercial IT and buy it from anybody and everybody. But, you have to really dig into the Buy American Act for the absolute specifics, but that is an exception to the Buy American Act. Another one is domestic non-availability. That's rather an obvious one. Sure, I'd like to buy it from an American vendor, but it's not available. Unreasonable cost would be another. We did a webinar on the Buy American Act, and it's, as you might imagine, as I'm sure you all know, it's a lot to it. Okay. There's the interaction with the Buy American Act and the Trade Agreements Act in particular that you have to dive into. Any questions so far? Let me stop there. So anybody raising their hands? I don't see any questions. Okay, so let's think about this now. We're buying commercial IT, and we want to make sure that we are compliant with the Buy American Act. So we go to the place of manufacture. We're buying, what's the software? SAP. I would bet that would be, I'm going to say SAP. It's a pretty well-known company, big software company, located in Germany, if I'm not mistaken. So your department has determined that SAP is the company for you. You're buying them for a big payroll system. I think they do that. And you put down the justification, hey, it's commercial IT. I don't have to go with Oracle or IBM or someone else that's commercial IT. I'm picking the vendor that's best suited for our needs at the best price. We've determined that's SAP. We are not bound by the Buy American Act in our decision. So you put down, in the place of manufacture, you put down H, manufactured outside U.S. commercial IT. Now here's the assertion in the new Fed data check, and we'll look at some examples. If you put that, the expectation, the logical expectation is that in the commercial item acquisitions field, you then put a commercial item. Or to put it another way, if you're justifying an exception to the Buy American Act because it's commercial IT in the place of manufacture field, it doesn't make sense to come down to the commercial item acquisition procedures field and see the commercial item procedures not used. Now let's see, I think I saw some interior people on the phone. Let me do I wonder if I could do a poll as to where people are from. Let's see. Well, I know we have interior, so I'll go there. HHS, I saw HHS as well. We'll do HHS on the next one. Okay, I've logged into Fed Data Check. I've clicked on the Department of Interior. When we have a new feature, you can get to it through here, or you can get to it through our data quality dashboard. but since we're already here, let's just click on here. Check, that's the new check 127. Place of manufacturer states that the award is for commercial IT. The commercial item acquisition procedures field indicates the opposite. Let me see if we, and we should have 10 examples for interior going back to FY17. Let's see if that's the case. So now I'm in Fed Data Check, I'm running a report, I hit that down arrow and I'm going to select all interior bureaus. I'm going to back this up to FY17, so we get all of FY17 and all of FY18, and then I'm going to hit apply. Okay. So we got our description in the error. This is in draft status, so it's not final yet. That means it's not sent out, it's not logged as an official data check error, and it's not a part of the email alerting process. The place of manufacturer states that the award is for commercial IT, but the commercial item acquisition procedures field indicates the opposite. Give you the FAR reference, that's to the Buy American Act exceptions. That's the definition of a commercial item. All right, let's go out to the, so here's the discrepancy right here. Hey, you know, you bought it because it was commercial IT, but you didn't use commercial item acquisition procedures. Now, some of these are just miscodings. But let's look, come down here and look at this one, ADP software. I'm going to click on that blue font underline. That means I can drill out to the, anytime you see that, that means it's hyperlinked. Hit view. Okay, so we got a Department of Interior award in FY17. Actually, it was signed 2 months ago. All right, let's come down to the product or service information group. And we have an exception to the Buy American Act, manufactured outside U.S. commercial information technology. Let's take a look at where the vendor is. Vendor's in Canada. So that, what kind of software is it? What is it? Aquatic informatics software. So it sounds like a specialty company making specialty software. This is something that's going to fit Interior's needs, obviously. Hey, you know, what are you supposed to do if they're the best in this field and they're meeting Interior's need, then the Interior can get to them without restriction to the Buy American Act. Okay, manufactured outside U.S. commercial information technology. Now let's look at the commercial item acquisition procedures. Commercial item procedures not used. Now this is really a question, and I'd love for someone to comment on that. I've asked some people, I've asked some FAR experts, and you know, it just, does that make sense? Is there a case where in your experience as federal contracting officials, have you come across cases where, sure, it's a fully commercially available item, I stated as such with the Buy American Act exception, as specified in the place of manufacture field, it's a company in Canada, they sell it to other people, they sell it to government agencies as well as the private sector, but you know, I just didn't want to use, you know, commercial item procedures didn't make sense for that. I wanted to use the more labor-intensive, if that's the word, the more difficult non-commercial item procedures. Well, let's do a poll on that. Let's see. If I create a poll, I'm going to manage polls. Create poll. Have you used non-commercial item acquisition procedures to acquire commercial items like software? Answer: Yes. No. Save. Click on that. Okay. That should be done. Now I can start the poll over here. Select the poll. Here. Launch. Okay, hopefully you're seeing the poll. If you could click 100% no so far. I don't have any yeses. So what we're asking is, and this is a genuine question, I'm not, if it was a fully commercial item, was there ever a decision you made as a federal acquisition official to say, oh, wait a minute, I got a yes? Some people said yes. 50%.